We are live with the Health, Love, and Life Show. This is Coach Arnie, and we are going to talk about energy tonight. Motion equals emotion, the power of movement. Before we get there, don't forget to check us out on the goingSolomedia.com, and CC's Chats does a wonderful job of putting this together for us. And we appreciate that. And please connect with me. Phone number there, 602-390-9144. You can email me. You can go to my website. Go to my Grand Canyon information site, which is epicadventure.info. And we got another trip coming up here at the end of February. Excited. Been crazy putting together the hotel and the travel. And so, yeah, fun stuff. There's one way to beat the blues, the COVID blues, as we like to say, and that's do something fun, do something that you enjoy doing. And that's kind of what I got blessed enough to, or encouraged to do just a couple months ago, literally a couple months ago, and turned my hobby into a potential moneymaker. I mean, what the heck? All of us would love to spend time doing what we love to do. And that's the whole joy of life, once we realize that we are in charge, we can take charge. When we feel we have no control, a lot of times we lose hope. And that's not a good place to be for any of us. So as things go down in your communities and maybe you feel your opportunities are slipping away, why don't you turn inside and look at what you love to do, and maybe there's an opportunity there. Remember, just because someone told you that you couldn't do it doesn't mean you can't do it. As Henry Ford would say, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. It's pretty simple. It really is. But be patient. Be patient. But we want to talk about movement tonight. I made some notes here. And this actually, it's funny because as an expert in movement, I mean, that's my background. My graduate degree is in exercise physiology. But I started off as a PE teacher, working with little kids, K through 6. And never thought I'd do anything else. The main reason is I love to coach, but teaching young people to move, do things with their bodies, especially with people that don't have problems with possibility. They have a limitless mindset. Sad thing is they lose that in about 10 years. But when I had them, they would try anything. And they would keep working at it until they got it, until they were exhausted and just pass out. I mean, how many of you guys do that? See? And they were the epitome and are the epitome of motion equals emotion, because everything in their world is great as long as they're moving, and then they just pass out, and then they regenerate and come back and do it again. But if you take away the ability to move, they get very upset, these young people. Problem is, we don't. I made a note here, and let me flip through it real quick. We'll circle back to a lot of this because I'm going to hop around a little bit here, because this is an area that I understand a lot, but at the same time, my brain was, when I was trying to organize how I wanted to do this, I thought, I'm just going to have a conversation. And whatever pops in my head, we're going to go with it. And what just popped in my head is, did you know that 50% of the people in this country don't move? Now, I'm not saying they lay in bed, but I want you to think about what's been going on for the last year. we've been on lockdown or semi-lockdown. People aren't going to work, or they weren't, and they're coming back slowly. I mean, the traffic is still not where it was at all. And I'm in a fairly open state now. But think about what people were going through. 50% pre-COVID weren't moving. So what do you think happened after COVID? You think that number went up or down? My guess is it went down. My guess it went up. My guess was it went down, the number of people that moved. But I promise you the percentage of people that don't move is higher than it was a few years ago when I used to use the number 50% in my workshops. That's right. If you don't have to get up at a specific time, or you do, but you don't have to get ready, you don't have to drive 30 minutes in traffic, you don't have to rush and get your coffee or whatever else you're going to do in the morning, you're not moving. You're going to roll out of bed, put a hat on, turn on your computer screen, and go to work. That took about 5 minutes. And you certainly didn't have to get ready. You certainly didn't have to drive anywhere. You didn't have to focus, get angry, get sad, get happy, whatever emotions you go through. You just were what you were. And that kind of sparked this topic, because a lot of us are in a state of happiness, sadness, joy, whatever you might want, whatever emotion you can think of, anger, fear, pain. And unbeknownst to most of us, we hold the secret. I'll say you hold it in your hand, but really you hold it right here. The secret to changing that state. And by you not getting up in the morning and preparing yourself for the day, you put yourself in a bad state, if that's where you were when you woke up. Let's be honest, most people are. But if you got up and changed your state by moving, going for a walk, even taking a shower, and moving, and then maybe doing some gratitude work, thinking about the day ahead, getting in a positive mindset. But it all starts with movement. I promise you. I promise any of you that are having a bad day, if you go for a walk, you're going to feel better. A few years ago, I was teaching some ladies how to slow down in their training. They're endurance runners. And I wanted them to slow down, because I know that most runners get hurt. And they were going to end up there at some point. And I said, I want you to slow down so you can do this longer, get healthier, get faster. And man, oh man, did they snap back. Can't do that. That's the only way that I can recover from my work. They already had figured out that by moving in a certain pattern, they could change their state, get rid of that frustration, whatever they're going through. Yeah. And I'm not going to argue with that, because I know it's true. I was trying to get them to be more efficient. But again, their goals were not the same as mine. You know, when they came to me about doing better, there was a bigger goal there for them. Feeling better. Feeling better. Because, you know, look, here, this I know. Taking action in whatever you do in life, you know, movement, it stirs up something inside of us, doesn't it? Doesn't it? when you move, doesn't it gets something going inside of you? It excites us. Years ago, I was at a workshop. It was a running workshop. And because I was a fill-in on the agenda, I got to go last, which was a blessing. Because what I did for the first day, I just sat in the back and just studied everybody. Studied the questions. And then the second day, I did the same thing. And I made some notes and made some changes in my presentation to reflect the interest of the room. I wanted my topic to have more meaning for them. And in the meantime, there was a young lady there who did a presentation. I don't even know what it was on. Okay. Some kind of maybe exercise or something. I'm not even sure. But this I know. First thing she had everybody do is move the chairs. And we created a kind of an open area that she had us doing some exercise and jumping around and, some of the same things that you would see at a Tony Robbins concert. People clapping hands and jumping and dancing and moving our bodies in different ways. And we did that for about 20 minutes. And you know what? It was fantastic. It changed everybody's state. It was the best thing in the world for my talk because they were prepared for my presentation. They were alive. Because I could have been the greatest speaker in the world, but if by the end of the day, if people were half dead, what's the point? And so I was so excited. And so afterwards, we were sitting around this fireplace, and I introduced myself to her, and I said, "Wow, that was fantastic. I really love what you did." And she goes, "No, but I really love what you did. I want to be able to speak like you." And I said, "Wow." But the only reason that even happened was because of her. Because she created energy in the room by motion, by getting people to move. Now, do you need someone like her to do that for you? Probably not. You could do it yourself, but you got to want to do it yourself. We can instantly change our state right now. Any of you that are listening to this right now, I promise you, if you were to stand up and start jumping around for 10 seconds and sit down, you'd go, "Whoa, I feel better." And you would. Instant. Just by anything, any kind of movement will automatically, instantaneously change your state. It will. Try it. Works every time. Every time. And it's free. We know that it works. Why don't they do it more? I don't know. Why don't people exercise more? I don't know. I was talking to a guy today. He's training for the Grand Canyon, and he's had a dickens of a time getting started. So last week, I just kind of broomed everything, and I said, "Look, here's what we're going to do. Start." "What do you mean?" "I mean, start moving. I don't care what you do." And so when he gave me his report today, he said, "Well, this is what I did. I was moving, helping people move, and I was moving boxes, and I was doing this and doing that. Everything except stuff that he probably should be doing." But it was good. He was moving. Success. And then I said, "Well, now here's what I want you to do." Because he's got a beautiful mountain 5 minutes from his office. 5 minutes. It's closer than my mountain. And I said, here's what I want you to do. When you got some time at lunch, I want you to go over there. I want you to park. And all I want you to do is walk up the road. Because the road to the trailhead is steep and paved. And it's a good workout. It's about a quarter of a mile. I want you to walk up there and back as many times as you can in your lunch hour. He goes, I could feel the relief in his voice on the phone. Go, "That's a great idea. Because that way I don't have to change my, this and his clothes and all this other stuff to walk on the dirt trails." I said, "No, I know. You don't have to. Just do that. You're going to get a great workout. Just throw that in. And then when you go home, before dinner or after dinner, do some stretching. And maybe get your wife to go for a walk with you around the block. And pretty soon I could feel it in his voice. He was feeling some relief. Because he hasn't figured out how to work movement into his day yet, but he's going to. And the only reason he's going to is because he started. See, the biggest hang up that most of us have is we don't start. We think everything has to be perfect before we start. So we do nothing, which is why 60% of the people in this country don't move. And then they complain about stuff. I have a quote here from Teddy Roosevelt. I thought it was kind of interesting. The two best things to do in any situation is the right thing and the wrong thing. The worst thing is nothing. Think about that for a minute. Now, I'm not about just throwing mud against the wall to throw mud against the wall. But if you have a choice of doing something, let's take exercise. You got 10 minutes. You can sit at your desk and go, I don't have enough time to do anything. That's just wow, right? Instead, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I'm going to walk up and down the stairs for 10 minutes. I'm going to walk around the building 10 times. I don't care. But you did something. Now, it could be the wrong thing if you went outside and tripped, or you hurt your knee on the stairs, or you tripped on the stairs, or you missed a phone call that you said I don't know. But you know what? That's all fixable. But every day you sit on your rear end and do nothing is another day that you just wasted. And whatever state you're in, happiness, joy, sadness, fear, anger, that's where you're going to probably stay or potentially get worse. Because you're not doing anything to change it. And this is not against anybody that's doing things. Maybe during that 10 minutes, you're going to call your wife or your boyfriend or your husband, and you're going to find out how they're feeling. Maybe they weren't feeling well, or your little children at home. I don't know, but that's on you. And if isn't that movement? You're doing something. It's not always about physical movement. It's about moving and doing something. It's when we do nothing that creates the problem. Because that nothing leads to other nothings. And our state remains most likely negative. Okay? And I want you to be able to change that at an instant. Because see, doing nothing accomplishes nothing. You just feel bad. You're not going to feel bad if you called your wife or your boyfriend or your husband or your girlfriend and you made them feel good and made you feel good. That's a good thing. Now, if you call them and they made you feel bad, then maybe that's a bad thing, but it's something. But if you sat there and you go, I don't feel like going for a walk. I don't feel like calling my wife. And you sat there and you're contemplating the world and then all of a sudden, ding, 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 time up. You just lost your 10 minutes. That ain't ever coming back. It's gone. So doing nothing accomplishes nothing. You know, it reminds me of a story. I'm going to try to get some of this in before the break here. But, you know, in 2008, the Great Recession. I mean, my whole world was crumbling around me. I mean, literally, crumbling around me. I had there's so many things going on, and my business was crashing. I watched my accounts dwindle to nothing. I watched my clients leave one after another. And I remember in my office, my daughter was running my company, and I literally sat in a chair and rocked back and forth, almost holding myself in the fetal position. And for almost literally one of the first times in my life, I felt helpless, that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't change it. I didn't know what was going on. Why was this happening? How could everything go from great to crap in a matter of weeks? And you're just not ready for it. It's kind of like what happened with COVID a year ago. I mean, everybody was caught flat-footed with that, and that happened even faster. Everybody was caught flat-footed. But in 2008, I mean, it's like, what's going on here? And just, it was, what a horrible feeling. And the one thing I didn't do is move. I should have just moved. That day, as I sit here and I can see myself, if I would have got up and moved, I would have felt better. Maybe would have thought better. But I want you to hold that thought for a second, as we take a quick break here, and we'll be right back with the Health, Love, and Life Show. All right, we are back with the Health, Love, and Life Show, and we were talking about pulling ourselves out of traumatic situations, and how, by movement you can literally change how you view a situation. And I was listening to somebody today, and we were talking, and how when they go for a walk, bike ride, even swimming, anything rhythmic like that, they think more clearly. I mean, there are times, I was just thinking about the other day, that I need to carry a note card like this and a pen in my pouch, because when I'm out walking, especially if I'm by myself, if I'm with somebody else, I'm focused on them, helping them. But when I'm by myself, my brain is racing, and I am coming up with ideas and thoughts and quotes, and it's endless. It's amazing what movement does to your brain, and we're going to cover that here in a little bit. But it's powerful stuff, and if we don't take advantage of it, we're missing out on so much. We really are. I mean, I've taught this technique here, or not a technique, but this concept here before, the concept of the crazy eight, because the crazy eight is a metaphor for dealing with anger, and depression. It's kind of like the infinity sign. And most men enter the crazy eight on the angry side, and most women enter it on the depression side, sadness. And what happens is we just kind of swirl around in there. Because anger, you can only be angry so long, and you get tired, and then you kind of get depressed, right? I think people know that. And if you are sad, you can only be sad for so long. I mean, at some point you got to get out of the bed there, and then you probably just get pissed off. And but then you can only be angry so long, so you go right back into it. So how do we get out of there? Well, the way we get out of there is we have to change our meaning. Going up, we change our meaning of what all this means. We move. Good grief. We move. We exercise. We move. And we think differently. And when we do that, we change our state. Now, can you keep doing that? Well, you could. But it's like going to the gym and working out. You got to do this every day. If you got up every day or a couple times a day and you thought about great things that are happening in your life, your gratitude, you're thanking people in your life, that would change your state. If you got up and did a walk, or maybe a couple, I know some people that walk in the evening, walk in the morning, you're constantly exercising those muscles, those attitude muscles, those gratitude muscles. And you just feel better. You feel better. So, but that's how you get out of the crazy. But most people don't do that. Most people, you know what they do? Because when they get frustrated being in the crazy eight, they go the other way. They go down and they do stupid things. They try to numb their way out just for a little while. Alcohol, drugs, bad behavior. And it never works long term. It's short term, short fix, and then you're right back in it. Versus gratitude, love, movement. Those are all long-term fixes. But that means you got to work at it every day. Every day. You can't just say, thank you. No, every day. And you get out of that thing. Because see, unhappiness equals no motion. If you're one of these couch potatoes, and God bless you if you are, that lack of movement equals unhappiness. For the most part. Nothing's guaranteed here. Nothing's set in stone. But just 40 years of observation, if not longer. Because I grew up with a dad that didn't move until one day he moved. But he was super depressed. Super depressed. We're talking about suicide depressed. Until one day he decided to move, change his life. Started walking and walking. Kind of like Forrest Gump. Just kept walking. He changed his attitude. For the most part. Better than it was. How's that? So yeah, life is about movement. Life is about movement. The more you move, the more you feel. The less you move, the less you feel. Think about that for a minute. Hence the definition of couch potato. Last time I looked, a potato doesn't have any feelings. Tell me if I'm wrong. So when it lays there, it doesn't feel. When you get up and move, I know one of the things that I do when I'm working at home is I try to give myself a break every, hopefully less than an hour, but every hour or so and go out and do some exercise. move around. I'll go out and do some abdominal work or stretching, whatever, bounce on my trampoline. And why? Because number one, it breaks a pattern. Number two, it creates flow to my brain. Gets me to think a little different. Breaks the monotony. Creates emotion. And a good emotion. I don't jump on the trampoline and go, "Arr, arr, I hate life." No. You're like going, "This feels good. I wish I could do it all day," but you can't. Okay, so the more you move, the more you do things, the more you feel. Whatever feelings those are. This hurts. This feels good. This doesn't feel good. Whatever. And you'll go through things in your head. Maybe you had a fight with somebody and you go through that whole thing. Or maybe you love somebody and, well, how am I going to talk to this person? And your brain is just all over the place. That's a good thing. See? Because the less you do that, the less you feel. And it's kind of like, kind of dead. Kind of laying there. Not feeling. Last time I looked, that kind of defined dead. So how you feel in your life, how you feel is okay. How did I say that? Let me say this right. Movement will change how you feel. How you feel is your life. Okay? So if you're feeling angry, sadness, depression, grief, that's your life. If you're feeling love and joy, passion, that's your life. And movement will change that for you. Think about it, though. Yeah, look, I've done a lot of things in my life that created a lot of suffering, pain, but it was something that I was looking forward to in a way, but I knew it was part of it. Because I also knew that if I persevered long enough, there would be a ton of joy at the end of it. But I was in control of that. I chose that kind of movement. If you're laying around and not doing anything, you're not getting any of that. You're choosing to have no feelings. Because without movement, there's very little feeling that you're going through in your body. Except maybe laying there thinking how worthless you are because you're not moving. Because I know people that do that. That's a choice. You know, a great question to ask yourself is, where are you today as far as your feelings? It's a great question to ask yourself. Where am I today? You know, what would I, not where I would like to be. Oh, I want to be joyful and energetic and loving. That's me. No, it's not. Who you are is what you are today. Doesn't mean that's where you have to stay. But who you are you somebody, hey, look, I got news for you. I already said it earlier. COVID has really wrecked us emotionally. So it's okay to feel how you feel, but it's not okay to stay there. Unless it's joy and love. But if it's sadness and depression and anxiety, you can change that. You can move. There's so much you can do. Emotion is created by motion. The way we move defines the way we feel. How many times do I have to say it? How many different ways do I need to say that? You know, the way we move, whether it's dance. I was reading doing some research earlier. I was read a great poem. I was going to read it. And I thought, nah. It was a great poem on dance and how it made this person feel so amazing by just moving their body in so many different planes and just how they felt. I mean, just doing that right there, I feel better. You kidding me? You would too. You would too. So the way we move defines the way we feel. How can we move differently each day to change our current state? That's a question. Our emotions. What can you do starting today? Remember I said the first part of that question was, where are you? Where are you right now today feeling? What can you do to change that? Can you go for a walk? Can you go for a bike ride? Can you go for a swim? Can you do some yoga, some stretching? What can you do to change the way you feel? Remember what Teddy Roosevelt said, right thing, wrong thing, nothing. So there's nothing wrong here. It may not feel the best to you. Tomorrow I'll do something different till you figure it out. But it's not wrong. Especially if it makes you feel. I want you to feel. Doing nothing feels like nothing. So what can you do to change your state every day? What kind of movements can you do? You know, again, examples are dance, yoga, hiking, lifting weights, feeling gratitude for what you have in your life, for your body, for the ability to take care of this temple and to grow. Those are all things that will change your state. You know, the interesting thing is here is, again, another conversation pops in my head. One of the trainers that I know really well where I work out, we were talking about it the other day because he just had a hip replacement. He's doing really good. And we said, and I told him, I said, you know, the reason this is easier for you is because you've been doing this your whole life. It's a habit. It's who you are. And I told him the same thing. I said, if I'm not down here a couple of times a week, I feel bad because it's who I am. Most people don't have that feeling. It's the other way around. Going to a gym or going to an exercise routine feels awkward. It may even feel pain because it's not who they are. It's going to take time, you know, and until we understand that, it's going to be very difficult to help people, which is why right now, as we move into February, most people are beginning to back out of the gym they just joined, even though with COVID it made it even harder. But they're backing out of the walking program, hiking program, whatever they're doing. Most. So it's creating that habit that's so powerful in your life. It really is. The bottom line is, guys, and then we're going to go through some things here to finish up. If you change how you use your body, you will change your life. Fact. If you change how you use your body, you will change your life. It's that simple. It's that simple. So let's kind of dig in here as we finish up in the last few minutes with some ideas about exercise. I'm going to go through 7 different things that I believe are benefits of movement and why they're so important. Because see, another thing that I used to always teach and still do, although nutrition is probably the most beneficial to you, the easiest place to start is with movement, because I can move. I'm moving right now. Move. And I've heard it said, and there's tons of research if you Google it, if exercise were a drug, it would be the most powerful drug on the planet. If you could take an exercise pill, the most powerful drug on the planet. Not even a question. Think about that. And 50 to 60% of Americans don't even do it. Wow. That'll blow your mind, right? Sure it will. So let's start off here. Number one, mood. Your mood improves with exercise. Your mood will improve with exercise. End of story. End of story. There's way too much evidence. Way too many people have done it. You've probably done it. You start moving around, start doing things, you feel better. Not hard to figure out. Number two, it decreases stress and anxiety. It's an amazing thing when you focus on other things, focus on moving your body in different directions and different things. You forget about what you're stressed out about. Unless you're in pain, that's a different thing. But for the most part, you have less anxiety and less stress by movement. Every time. Every time. You sleep better. What a big one. You know, sleep has been really talked about in the last couple of years. Big time. You know, it's one of those areas that, you know, and I was guilty of this. Oh, well, you know, I'm a tough guy. I don't need that much sleep. Bull. You need more. And I know even the last year I've tried to get at least an extra hour of sleep every night. Would I get more? Probably if I could. Because you have to find that there's that fine line that determines how much is the right amount of sleep. And so it's something to think about. So sleep is huge. So you have to figure out what works for you. Do you need to darken up your room? Do you need to block out noise? Do you need noise? You know, some people need more noise. Do you need less? Whatever. You got to figure that out. Whatever. Do you need cooler, hotter? I don't know. Figure that out. So improve sleep. Okay. Exercise. Increases brain function. It really does. You think better. You feel better. You think better. Pretty simple, right? You think and you feel better. Improves your focus. You exercise for a few, and the right kind of exercise. I mean, if you overdo it and you're exhausted, but if you do the right amount of exercise, and you got to figure that out, you focus. That's why I'm saying taking that break every 45 minutes to an hour or so, go and walk around a little bit, do some bouncing around, do some stretching, do something, just move that body, get up and dance, you know, move and groove a little bit. You'll feel better and you feel more focused. Improves your memory. Long term improves your memory. Short term improves your memory. It does. You think about if you're working on a project, you're working on names, you're doing proposals, whatever you're doing, your memory is better with the right amount of exercise. It truly is. And then the last thing is it's kind of a protection against dementia. And there's a lot of things, a lot of study going on here. It's one of my areas of expertise. And yes, exercise is a big part of preventing dementia. It's not the only thing. There's so many other aspects of it. But I'm telling you, you're better off exercising than not when it comes to protecting yourself against the ravages of dementia type neurological illnesses. So something to think about, guys. And that short list of 7 things is reason alone to exercise. And just remember, motion does create emotion, and there's no better way to change your state, your mindset, than movement. And if you would just take that to heart, you can change your life. I promise you guys. All right, guys. This is Coach Arnie with Health, Love, and Life Show. Thank you, CC, for another great show on the GoingSoloMedia.com network. And guys, I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll talk to you next week.